Why is the jury laughing?
Zero chance of winning the game.
Supposed to talk glamour to you.
My grandmother's sitting home watching Jerry Springer.
Lee, is there any way I could have your jacket?
This is my island!
Welcome back to Survivor Breakfast. We are talking season 45, episode 2, boys. I think a great follow-up to the first episode of this season. You know, we had a little bit of disappointment there, but we had some great stuff going on. A lot of beach time. What are you guys' thoughts on this first ep?
I had a good time. Following the dissection of a couple of different, actually a lot of the different characters tonight. You know, they did a good job of piggybacking. Lulu is the yellow tribe, right?
Yeah.
They did a good job piggybacking off of last week, particularly with, you know, Emily's story arc. You know, I think a lot of that may have been bait for what came through at the end.
How heavy they edited that.
Yeah, a lot of it may have been bait because at the end of the day, you know, not to jump to the end of everything, but Brandon going home, candidly, was written in the stars. I mean, it's unfortunate, but one more week of Brandon would have been one more week of Lulu at Tribal. So if you kept them in, you were signing yourself up for Tribal again next week, which we can argue if that's a good or bad thing, but ultimately it's not a great thing. So
I personally have been suffering through many weeks with Brandon, and I could tell you, it wears on you.
Listen. The namesake actually had a.
You're still alive, by the way. You still have Brando.
That's very true. I'm losing a letter per week. So he had a good start to the episode because I've been beating this notion to death. Do not take that beware advantage. Don't take it.
Yeah.
Do not take it. Do not take it. Do not take it. Now, did, you know, Savaya? What's her name? Savaya?
Sabaya.
Yeah. Did she make it through this episode kind of unscathed with the whole thing? Pretty much, right?
Yeah.
They will have to figure out this candle thing, which was fantastic. Love that twist. I loved a lot of the little twists and changes that they made tonight.
Kale, you're hitting on so many things all at once here. I want to jump in on all.
I'm sorry. Just a lot of good things. But anyways, I just want to say Brandon at the beginning there was good and bad.
Yeah, I agree. I think from like a 10,000 foot perspective, I really think that we're starting to reap the rewards of the hour and a half format. I think I personally like the pacing. I think it's really nice because like we got like a couple of little things back. Like the intro today was great. Like it just sets the tone. Like it really does. I know it sounds kind of like dumb, but like it's nice seeing everybody. Like we're reminded of all the people and like, you know, especially in the beginning when we're not really seeing all the tribes evenly, like because of obvious like need to show some because, you know, they're at the bottom of the pack. It's nice to see all the players. And we did get a lot of beach time. And I do think that it's coming through in a way that is like evenly distributed. Like the edit is not like something that is so in your face with some people where it usually is because like they have to highlight these players when they have nothing to do with the episode, you know, because they have to like get you prepped for it. But it's pretty well distributed. Like we got a little bit of everybody tonight. And like, I don't know, that's at least what my initial takeaway is. Like there were people that were standouts for sure, but we still got to see everybody have like a little slice of the action, which was nice. So I really am a fan of that.
Sim, I'm sure you have commentary along the same lines, but it was a perfect dosage of laying the line out for everybody pretty much. I mean, I'm sure we'll start to play whack-a-mole here, but you know, I have no complaints, and what it does, I have no complaints with how it was laid out tonight, and what it most likely does, it sets the stage in better fashion. So we don't run into some Erica situation from season 41 where we have no pre-merge exposure to her in any sense. Yeah. Like this not only was tasteful in the short term, but is also probably helpful in the long term.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I think the beach time is great. It makes me really excited for post-merge and how much beach time we're gonna get in really digging into these characters. And I think for the time being, it's great. Like you said, we get to see something from each tribe. You know, not to make a positive a negative. I think the 90 minutes has gotten us to be able to get this beach time that we've been clamoring for seasons now. As a podcast, we've been talking about it. I wish they had solved that problem by going back to 2 starting tribes, because then you could still get away with it, in an hour. Although I do love the 90-minute format, but yeah, I love the beach time. I loved the characters that we got to look at today. Like I said last week, I'm really excited about Drew, and we're gonna get into it in the episode.
Yeah, we got a taste of everybody. Everybody had a little highlight.
Wait,
you know?
so hold on a second. You said Drew was your winner pick last week?
Last
did.
week, yeah, Drew was my winner pick.
Frustrating.
Oh, that's
He's gonna
frustrating.
stash it away.
I mean, I think it's beyond that he had probably the best episode from that standpoint.
Yeah, he had a phenomenal episode.
He had a
But
great episode.
We've seen players like this before, not make it there. We've seen this plenty of times. So I don't think it's a shoo-in, but I do like that I picked him week 1. I don't dislike that.
It was definitely a great edited episode for him. I mean, he obviously was a part of the puzzle situation.
Yeah.
He
Let's
won
talk
out.
about
So
that. So they brought in the boats. They pulled one from each tribe like they've been doing for a couple of seasons now, pretty regularly. And they did a risk your vote scenario where if you risked your vote, you got to play a puzzle, and if you solved the puzzle, you got your advantage. I loved Drew's commentary during this.
Yeah.
When he's really walking us through,
I just wanted to
this is the
interject.
opportunity. Yeah, go ahead.
Just to say that like the unique aspect of what we saw this time versus what it has been the past 4 seasons is that in the past 4 seasons, your risk reward was based on the actions of another person where you had no influence over them and you were in a different spot, right? Like you're meeting these people that are not on your tribe and you don't know how they're going to behave. So you before you hike up the mountain or whatever it may be, you could try to get a read on them and see whether or not there's someone who's going to risk. Or this was solely the decision and basically the effect of that decision was completely the consequence of the one person making the decision, right? Like it was completely independent of outside
it was great
influence, which is a nice change up. I think it's an interesting way to keep something
it's not only
was
that,
becoming stale a little bit more interesting.
Dissect it even further. It's drama for drama's sake in a game for another 2, 3, 4 minutes there on the TV. It's fantastic.
I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the rooted staples in why people love this show is the challenge aspect of the show. Purely that. Yeah. And that's what that was. So like to me, what a welcome change up. What you just talked about makes all the sense in the world as well. It was a variable that added a layer that was unnecessary and sometimes completely unlucky for a number of different people, right?
Yeah.
And this was putting fate into your own hands. And unfortunately for Brandon, again, exposure in the wrong sense.
I mean, guys, look, first of all, I want to say shout out to the editing team. I love how they edited that, where they let Brandon's timeline kind of get ahead of Drew's timeline. And then you, as the audience member, slowly make the realization,
they have different numbers.
Yeah. They have different numbers. And then you're like, oh, and Brandon has the wrong ones.
Yeah.
And
wow.
That was, I texted you guys during the episode. I was watching with Jen and she was ready to cry. She was like,
Shout out Jen.
He said, he was like, this is a comedy of errors.
You can't be bad at this too. Not this too.
Not this too.
You know? He said it himself. He was like, if I can't do this, I might as well get on the boat and go back to New Jersey. And lo and behold,
he is just a little bit later. But from the perspective of Drew, we could take this back from the beginning when they hop on the beach, because I think Drew's highlights start when he's having an interaction with Bruce and with Brandon. Right before he even comes out and wins this challenge, he's standing there and he's kind of getting the read on the two of them. He's like, Brandon is saying everything about his tribe. He's very forthcoming. I like that about him. Bruce is keeping everything to the chest. He doesn't want to be a part of this. I'm making a mental note of that. And I think it was nice to hear that from his perspective, especially because whether or not they cut it out or it just didn't happen, he did not have to divulge anything because it seemed like he wasn't asked. It was like he basically
He
was
was leading the conversation.
he was clean. He didn't have
look,
to.
His edit even started earlier than that. They
It
started
did.
him out on his beach where he's putting together this alliance, and he even says to us in a confessional, which I love to hear from a player, of like, "Hey, I'm organizing this alliance, but I am ensuring that I am not the head of the dragon here. You know, I am not the obvious, target, but I'm still, puppeteering these people
Yeah.
to come together." I mean, the edit couldn't have been more positive.
Yeah.
For sure. It
Because
could not have been.
he even said, just to add to that, like he said, like his inclination is to be that person and to understand in that moment that that's not what the game is calling for,
Yeah.
and to be able to like kind of taper that back a little bit, just goes to show that he's not just acting on who he is as a person. He's also layering his thoughts into this and being intentional, which I
Well,
think
really
is powerful.
and a really good juxtaposition for the audience of him versus Emily, where we're seeing somebody who, at least
Can't.
last week and is really struggling to hold back, those instincts.
Yeah.
And I think it almost feels like an educational moment for the audience to be like, look, this is the issue that Emily is dealing with, and you can see the other side of it here.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, was it positive. Something I want to talk about is when they come back. What are your guys' thoughts on Drew being so forthcoming with
Well,
the
before
advantage?
we get to that too,
Yeah.
because it has to do with a dichotomy or a subset, I should say, really of what's going on that tribe. I don't want to ignore the brief cameo and more of an introduction into Julie and how she's going to be playing a role on this tribe with being the mother role.
Yeah.
Because we talk about this multiple times.
She's my alliance.
The mother son, pseudo mother son alliance all the time plays out pretty well.
It's nice.
It's another notch in, to me, the bigger takeaway was for a story arc purpose and an edit standpoint. The lead in to Drew's discussion tonight was that whole sequence.
Yeah.
Man, like that. That's
It's
kind
powerful.
of it's really big for Drew. It's quite honestly really big for Drew.
I agree. I mean, we've talked about archetypes and how like certain people fit into those archetypes, and then like on a level right above that is how archetypes fit in with other archetypes, and like the mother son combo like that has just come to play so often that it's like hard to ignore that, like you have Malcolm Denise, and in that scenario is like really like the only time where the Denise of the two has kind of come out with it. But then you have Dawn and Cochran. You have JT / Steven with Taj. Like you have so many different versions of this playing out, and it really is favorable. The second that someone says, "You remind me of, my son," I'm like, yeah, sounds good. Lock it in.
Sign me up. Sign me up. Where are the adoption papers at? I'm here. I'm here. Holy shit. No, it's because it's a level of protection, and when you have a motherly instinct, it's like innate trust that like,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm signing up for that every single day. Now
Yeah.
tie this into what your question was, Sim. I started to think about I the first time they used this was in Winners at War, right?
The safe without power.
Safe Without Power was in Winners at War with Jeremy.
Jeremy.
Leaving that tribal where I don't think that was inconsequential
I
for
think
that one.
Kim went home, I think.
Yeah, I think it was pretty much inconsequential, but
They would have gone for him.
had he
They
been
said-
sitting
had he been
there,
sitting there, they
they led up that discussion. They did.
Tony
but-
basically was like, "Why'd you leave? I was gonna use you. Like we needed
Yeah,
you."
yeah,
But
yeah,
in
yeah.
reality, like they were gonna.
So the big piece for me was I started to think about different strategy, because that's kind of where I want to lead my mind to come to table to talk with you guys about, but um, they said you could keep this until 10, right? So that's 8 players gone, right? Which is most likely emerge at 12, 11. You're most likely you're most likely 1 or 2 votes through emerge, right? I think it would be great to keep this in my back pocket.
Yeah.
Say there was a target that was pretty well known, or it was known that it was between 1 or 2 people at a big vote. I sneak this to them because I don't think this is going to be as powerful being just used on yourself.
Yeah.
I think
agreed.
it's saving somebody else is a little bit better, to be honest.
Sure.
Having that move and having laying claim to doing that, I think maintains a little bit more power than you just relinquishing this info to everybody. And all of the only reason you really got it, you didn't do anything. You didn't go find an idol in the woods or anything like that. You just got lucky. I mean, you did solve the puzzle, so I guess you could hang your hat on that. But I think keeping it in your back pocket and utilizing it a little bit would be great. Now, it did pay dividends for him. We could talk about that with the Austin situation.
Yes.
But well, I didn't love it.
Simi, you go.
I was gonna say I lean towards liking it, and I totally hear what you're saying, Kale. I do think it probably would have been better if you could, or know that you're gonna pull off, keeping it in your back pocket, maybe sharing it with 1 or 2 other people. But I think my feeling is that Drew went into this. I don't think that Drew wanted to go on this trip necessarily.
They didn't show the Red Tribe.
They rock paper scissors did.
Oh, they did.
I think he was making.
Sure, that wasn't that. That was Blue Tribe that did that. Are you
they
sure
did that
they
too,
showed
but
it?
it was a quick. It was a quick.
Yeah. They showed both of them.
Yeah, I think it was a classic paper. It was scissors and rock, I think, and the rock came.
Yeah. Let's really debate the strategy of the right. But I think he was making good of a situation that he wasn't exactly super happy with, because it cut straight from him being like, I want to keep a slightly lower profile, to now being singled out and being sent to this island. My feeling is that in his brain he was like, I need to, I'm in low profile mode. What's my move that lowers threat as much as possible?
Yes.
And when you come back from one of those challenges, everyone assumes you has an advantage no matter what.
Unless you can show them, here it is.
Because
if you say you didn't play, there's no way to prove that you didn't do it.
Exactly. Because you wouldn't have lost a vote.
If you're in Bruce's shoes.
Exactly. And I think what he's thinking there is, hey, I want to lower threat as much as possible. I can prove that I just have this thing, and I can prove that I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the truth, and then I'm revealing, I told the truth. And I think that's probably what he was thinking. So while I agree with you, Kale, I think it is a lower. I think it's a higher risk, higher reward strat, and I think he was going safe mode. Basically.
Yeah. I was also going to say, like, a potential different way that this could be played in the long run is if Drew finds himself in a position of power. And people do know about this thing. I don't know if it necessarily has to be pigeonholed into playing it for somebody else. Like, could there be a situation that arises where somebody who you have a working relationship with is the target for that night? You're not necessarily dying to save that person, but you identify them as potentially being vindictive when it comes to giving out a jury vote at the end of the game. If you use it at that tribal, even though you yourself are not worried that you're going to go home, just to kind of relinquish yourself from having any part to play in the voting of that one person out. That way you can, build sort of like rapport with them when you're pitching your final case. I think that there's other ways that you can go about using that safety without power. And like, basically he's not really limited by having told people. And of course, outcome oriented, it really ended up working for him because we saw right after, like Kale, you alluded to.
Oh, do you mean him playing it, Drew playing it for himself to almost abstain from
yes.
a particular vote?
Yes.
Interesting.
to say, hey, listen, I know where the wind is blowing, but I don't want to be a part of it. And I think that this person
Plausible
is going to hold me to it.
deniability.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I wasn't going to vote you out.
Exactly.
I wasn't there, so I couldn't,
Exactly.
But I wasn't gonna.
Yeah. And then that person
No, that's
ends up,
why this is a better advantage to be put into the game. There's flexibility with this thing where it's actually really not something crazy that's going to really screw someone else over.
Yeah.
It's really just dependent on what you want to do with it, and it really doesn't affect much. You're just taking yourself away.
You leave before tribal, right? So it's like it's not like you're
you leave before the votes get cast.
Everybody knows. Okay, I can't even vote for him.
Yeah. So you just say, I'm unsure, Jeff. I don't feel confident. I'm gonna go. Meanwhile, you know that the person is going home, and you just don't want to be a part of the pack with the pitchfork.
It really is an interesting advantage.
100%. How crazy would it be if it's a cut scene and we all think it's gonna be one person, a cut scene. They leave. The person gets up and leaves, even though we thought Drew had it. That person gets up and leaves. Cutscene to a conversation that they had right before Tribal, where Drew gave it to that person. Boom, beautiful TV. Like, yeah. Not that necessarily matters for gameplay, but it's also a great move for gameplay's sake. So I get what you're saying, Sim, too. I mean, listen, anytime you come back from one of these things, you have to have some bulletproof story. This alleviates you from having any issue or strife camp.
It's the only outcome of the scenario where you actually have proof to show, right? Because if you abstain to play, you have nothing to show. And if you play and lose, you have nothing to show, right? The only way that you can come back and show something is if you play and you win, And to just be able to be like, hey, like I want to dispel any thoughts. This is what it is. Look at it. I'm clean. And I like just to follow it, because I feel like the next point is what we're going to talk about next. Just to follow the thread here is that it worked out for him, right? Like by lowering everyone else's guards and already having established a 4-person alliance here, he then gets Austin to open up to him about something that we hadn't seen Austin talk about with anybody yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Did I miss? Did Austin dig for the thing?
It was no, he had to do the
did he go do it?
No, I don't think so. He hasn't found the tree thing yet, I don't think.
They didn't even show him look for it after he decoded the message.
You're right.
He might not have even looked.
Dude, what's her name? Jay?
That was savvy.
Yeah, dude, if she decoded it somehow without the thing,
that would have been crazy.
That would have been sick.
Next level.
I think, unfortunately, I don't know if it would have been possible.
I don't think it's possible either. What?
Rather than she was thinking it was a cipher rather than something with a key. So
100%. She had no idea, but if she
she was
somehow
thinking,
did that,
she was in the right area.
Thinking, I like that.
And then it would be a race. Like Austin would then figure it out after, but then Jay would have gotten there already. I mean, like there's almost
that would have been
minuscule of a percent chance, but yeah, I mean Drew. I thought he got ahead of himself, saying, "Oh my God, Austin's my complete ride or die now."
Yeah,
he said JT Steven, but you do have Julie too. Like he's in a pretty good spot with the people that are around him.
I cannot stress enough that he was the biggest winner in this episode.
Yeah,
by far.
I might use this opportunity right now while we're really high on him, because I know Simi, you're going to mention him at the end of the show anyway. But like just to taper it a little bit.
Yeah.
Or temper it a little is like he is 22 years old, and like that hubris, like he shows sometimes that he's a little bit full of himself. He talks in the third person.
Yeah,
right.
Well, like somewhat like what's his face from 43.
43 was a bad one for us.
Taller guy. Taller guy that went to BYU.
Oh man, 43.
Yeah, with the glasses and the curly hair. Tall guy. Athletic build, played football.
41, 42, 43.
No, 43 was just shitty. Who?
Hold on.
Okay.
All right, you look. But yeah, Toes, I agree with you. I mean, he's saying stuff like, I want to make a mark in the game. And I do worry for somebody like that if they get too many successes too early.
Yeah.
At some
No,
point you're gonna
flying
have
too
some
close to the
setbacks.
sun. That's what I see would be his projected
No plan of
downfall.
mine
All right,
can go
if I give
wrong.
you the letter, can you guess it?
Give me the letter.
S.
S.
Sean.
Whose team
What?
is he on?
Sean.
What
No.
color? What color?
No, he
buff?
was 19 years old. His starting tribe was yellow, the Baka tribe. He was in the Baka.
It was Owen. Sammy.
Yes.
Oh,
Sammy was pretty good.
No, so the only reason I brought that
I
up
liked
is,
him.
are
He
you
was fun.
saying that? Are you saying Drew's speech and talk is akin to kind of Sammy's mantra halfway through the show? Because he had some prospects.
Yeah,
as
I
we
mean,
slowly moved through there.
Sammy kind of collapsed pretty quickly, and it seemed like,
Well,
oh,
that's
like this
what
was
you're
a house
saying
of cards.
is the one end of the spectrum for Drew's.
I'm hoping Drew
possibilities.
has the skills to back it up.
Yeah, that's fine, but I'm just
I know,
saying
but
there's
he's
people
still
in this,
Drew's still
there's people-
22 versus
Yeah.
Sammy being 19, and one of the bigger things, and routinely, I do think one of the best ages to come on the show is around the age of 30.
Yeah.
That life experience matters tremendously, and
Yeah.
both those two people don't really have,
Yeah,
life
there's
experience.
people who are incredible at this game that never refer to themselves in third person. So that's why I'm saying, like, you really have to be able to back it up. He's
Yeah.
that's really the only thing I'll say. Because other than that, he does also find himself in a very advantageous position within his tribe. Like, he has the mom figure. He has Austin, who has now revealed something to him. He has all, like, he can go any which direction. I don't see him not making the merge. I just look at him. I'm like, yeah, he's in it for a longer time.
Of course, I
So-
don't even think he gets that much airtime without that being the case.
Yeah.
I'm sure we want to get into Balo, right?
Yeah.
Blue Tribe.
Yeah. Let's talk about Balo because
Were you gonna say something?
I was gonna make a parallel too of we have another big winner, I think, during this episode, but it's
You have a big
Lulu.
winner through this episode. Not on
I
Balo,
think-
on Lulu.
Oh, save it then for the
We'll
end.
say we get to Lulu.
All right, everybody, continue
Let's
to
talk-
tune in.
Sammy, bring up the. Can you bring up the? Can you pull up the tribe thing? Let's.
I can't.
Oh, okay.
I have it on a website
Yeah.
right now, so.
Actually, I think I can.
Listen,
Yeah.
this.
Nice. Okay.
Oh,
Let's go to Bello.
there we go. I thought
Yeah,
it wasn't
we're
working.
talking Belo. We got a lot more Bruce time again.
Yeah,
How-
I don't know about this whole Bruce situation. I'm confused
How
a
do you
bit.
feel about it?
I'm pretty confused. I like, and I've told you this, putting on an act to be a little bit more crazy than you truly are. But I'm not quite sure that that's an act like he claimed it was.
He might
but
just be a rogue guy.
yeah, I think he might be a rogue guy. The problem is that they didn't really talk about this in the 1-12 in the 1 to 12 hours he was out there last season. So I don't have anything to work off of. But as
He
of
might
right
still have a
now,
concussion.
my deduction is that he's Star Wars Rogue One right now. He's a rogue.
I think so too. I to be honest with you, like Bruce, it sounds just horrible to say, and I don't wish this on him. Like, I hope that this is not something that happens, but I have to just say it out loud. He just, the way he moves and behaves just screams injury prone to me. I think like obviously it was an isolated incident.
What was I was
Him, like,
cringing at
dancing on the
boats thing.
boat,
No,
like-
and then the peekaboo, like
Don't you see him as somebody
Dude,
who
him-
like
him
is
going,
like,
Lando, what's this one?
yeah, and he just and like
This one, bud.
I don't know. I see that as a potential thing that happens. I mean, like, yeah, it's an isolated incident, like I said, like where he hits his head. But like, what if it's just the case that he's like kind of like he just gets injured? I don't know.
I mean,
To be
listen,
honest-
I don't think it's a crazy take. If you're
If I'm
telling
on
me
the
right
line,
now,
he's annoying me
what
so
are you putting the line at? What are you putting the line at that he goes out with injury again?
I think it's a 50-50 right now.
No,
I think there's a chance he gets injured again. I'm looking at him make moves. I feel like he's 46. I think he's He's not saying he's old, but he's like trying to get in with the young crowd. He's doing, weird motions and stuff. I don't know. I can see it happening.
Dude.
Listen,
Well, speaking of injuries, though, was it Kendra on Bello tried to?
Oh, yeah, that was a
slam
bad
him?
yeah,
fall.
she took.
I was like,
I
I thought
cringed.
Knuckles
I
was
physically
winning.
cringed at that one.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
That looked bad.
She was still very happy afterwards, which was nice to see, but it could have been just adrenaline,
Yeah.
Listen, vibes are good for both those two tribes.
Yeah, it's great.
Like Lulu's an auto loss.
Yeah.
To get nowhere.
Should
Get
we?
absolutely nowhere.
I
Just to-
don't know that they're improving their odds that much, to be honest.
No, they're not. But
Another-
No, guys. They are improving their odds.
They're
they
improving
are.
their odds, but the other teams are really good.
yeah.
Yeah,
Can we
but
talk
to-
about
but-
the
but to-
politics on Bello? Is that can we?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about
And I wanted to
the
talk about-
girls versus guys with Kelly
Yeah.
and Brando in the middle.
Well, so
Brando
I
had
was
a
gonna
great nap.
I was gonna start by saying that I think that Bruce, his interest, or like my interest in him, is sort of limited to the Katura Bruce dynamic. Like I think that that's being set up for some payoff coming sometime in the near future, where like they are the two. Like she's saying, I'm identifying him as a threat. Nobody else is like feeling that. They're all like kind of getting lulled into it, but like I don't really like him. I want him to go. So I think that is like being sort of like propped up, and we'll see that come to a head. I think probably in the pre-merge, if I had to guess, coming up relatively soon. But
yeah, I thought it could have been an event that transpired tonight with
Yeah.
the setup, but again, I think it's just a better benefit because it had us on our toes. Not necessary. I got away from the realization that Lulu is that terrible. And that airtime for Belo made me think they had a chance, especially when
To go.
Kendra had that fall. They were behind in the water.
yeah. Yeah.
But no.
Well, that's just one of the benefits of extra beach time is that we actually
Yeah.
see some politics flesh out, and it wasn't a scramble sort of
Yeah.
politics. It wasn't
Yeah.
like a we need to vote tonight kind of politics. It was like, where is this beach at? And we
We
didn't,
get some true foreshadowing.
which is nice. So then we find that there's a girls' alliance that has pulled in Brando, and then there's also the outskirts, Bruce, Jake, who are like de facto together, and they end up pulling in Kelly and Brando. And now we're in a situation where there seems to be sort of a pseudo 2-2-2 that has arisen, and Kelly and Brando find themselves in the middle of it. I really like Kelly's position on this tribe right now. I wanted to just kind of lead in by saying that I think that Kelly has done a very good job of articulating how she's able to integrate with multiple groups and like be a girl's girl and a guy's guy, or a
Yeah.
girl's guy, I should say.
Yeah,
And
I agree, and I think these tribe lines particularly get split for two reasons. I think Kendra was very gung-ho with the girls' alliance, and Katura, for whatever reason, despises Bruce.
Yeah.
So with those two things being
play.
delineated,
Yeah.
Katura and Kendra were always going to be lined up together, creating
Yeah.
some twosome, right?
yeah,
Separate from Bruce.
yeah,
It was said through a couple different edits tonight that Jake liked Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see necessarily, again, other than the girls' alliance being a factor here, where Jake had no interaction with the women that we saw, right?
None.
Other than Kelly coming
Kelly.
by and whatnot. So yeah, you're right. Kelly's the winner tonight on Belo from my standpoint, and Brando's close behind as well. I mean, he had a good edit where, they dove into his background and said this is not something that he would ever imagine, from a positional standpoint, he'd find himself in. So,
yeah.
I wouldn't edge Kelly too much above Brando in that sense. I get what you're saying because I think Kelly articulated it a little bit better, probably. But
I just,
they're both
from
in
the
a good
perspective
spot.
that we were given, it seemed that Kelly was more integral to bringing Brando in on that from the girls' perspective, and then was included with him from the guys' perspective. So, like, as far as like pluripotent outcomes and options, it seems like Kelly, and you're right, with Association Brando, Kelly has the most options moving forward.
Yeah.
right? She can go in the most directions based on how other people are feeling, right? Based on other people's sentiments.
The one thing I will say, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, I think Kelly and Brando both had great edits. I think Kelly does edge ahead slightly just because it feels more intentional, which, whether or not that plays out, whatever. But the one thing that I am a little bit worried with Kelly, depending on how it ends up shaking out, is if Kelly, in the next time that Bello has to vote or go to tribal, if that twosome of her and Brando go with Jake and Bruce, the anger from Katora Kendra side, I can't imagine anything other than it being immensely, bad. Like, if you only have to go to tribal once before merge, now you've got somebody post merge who is really upset with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's always the case, right? Like,
yeah. I think the thing to watch out for is you're going to create some animosity.
Yeah. By having all those options, you're also
on Kelly's side than Brando's side, whereas Brando still has those options, and I don't know if he's creating as much animosity.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big takeaway here from an edit perspective too is I feel like I'm on the edit train, like post circa, season 42.
Circa months ago? What do you mean?
This seems as though this whole discussion's gonna be integral for a Bello tribal pre-merge, right? I mean, that's kind of that's kind of what it seems like. I understand from a positional standpoint, it kind of lays the line out. I didn't get too much of a takeaway. I do think Drew's conversation was a little bit more bigger picture than anything that was going on.
Yeah,
Halo.
Agreed. But we have to talk about him.
No. Of course, I'm just delineating the difference in my eyes, and that's why I still think Drew had the better episode.
Yeah,
I'm
sure you guys want to touch base. Finally on Lulu as well,
and talk about the end of the episode here. This, what I was alluding to earlier, I think Caleb got a phenomenal edit this week. I mean,
so
he turned Emily's life around.
Yeah.
I mean, he turned her to a different person. And I think it really, I think he's really making the best out of a really bad scenario, because, to be totally honest with you, if I'm in Kayla's position, I don't know that I would have the wherewithal to go to Emily like that and really create an ally out of somebody who very well still might go home that night. I thought that.
Well, that's
really
the thing.
Play.
That's the thinking. Is the thinking that I don't even waste my time trying to build a relationship because we're definitely voting her out, right? I'm sure in the back of his mind, again, what we already spoke about last week, and said I don't know if I said with 100% certainty that this is how it was going to go, but it did, right? So I'm sure he knew how much of a liability they had from a challenge perspective
in Brandon.
In Brandon. So at the end of the day, it was a no-brainer, but like you just said, it's a little bit, harder to get on board with, because you don't want to waste your time on the island, even though all you have to do is talk to people, right? But I thought it was a smart move, and not only to do it, Sim, but to be the first one to engage and do it.
Yeah, that's big.
I'd have the skills to do it. I think approaching and convincing somebody like Emily, episode 1, is not an easy task to accomplish. I think coming to her and not putting her defenses up is a
but
skill,
so not to talk so like she's just a piece or a pawn in a game, but she clearly was willing to atone for her sins.
You want the key is to get there before Sabaya.
No, I actually think Sean was better suited than Sabaya was. To be honest.
Well, I'm saying as far as like who I'd rather have Emily in my pocket than have Emily in the pocket.
Yeah,
of
but
my
I'm
number
looking at
one
them
alliance.
as a threesome. I'm not just I don't think it's just Caleb and Sabaya.
I think though,
And
if
Sean.
you
I think
it
down
got
to
away from
Sabaya,
that.
Caleb, they're voting out Sean if there was 3 of them left.
Yeah,
No,
agreed.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
I see it
We're-
that way
we're-
right now, but it could be. It could
Well,
change.
first of all,
but
there was in the promo,
Yeah, the
Sabaya
preview,
saying let's get
Sabaya's-
Caleb. So no,
yeah,
I don't. I
Fine.
I don't think it's clear cut like that. I think you had to be the first mover between all 3, so that you build the most goodwill.
sure,
with
fine.
her.
We're saying the same thing, but for
Yeah.
me personally, I was like, if I'm Caleb, I want to have Emily with me and kind of keep there like a little bit of trust problems between Sabaya and Emily. That's because if it comes down to it and there's 3 people left, somehow Sean gets out of the picture. I'd rather be the one in the middle. You know what I mean? And
No,
you're right. Now it's the scenario where
100%.
potentially even if it's Sean and Caleb and Sabaya is out of the picture, like Caleb has the most to flex, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, again, first mover in terms of that is a second level of thinking in Survivor. I think he executed it perfectly as well. I thought he was caring, concerning. He
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
everything.
he came to her with genuine like compassion, I feel like, and was like, "Hey, look, like, this is what we got to do." But I think even making the move itself is a great example of second level thinking in Survivor because, plenty of players can sit there and go, "Okay, what is the universe of outcomes, of reasonable outcomes tonight? Brandon goes home, Emily goes home." That second level becomes, okay, in each of those scenarios, how do I come out as best as possible, right? If Emily goes home, okay, I've already created a good relationship with Brandon. If Emily stays, how do I come out as good as possible? Oh, I need to go to her and make her my ally in a way that, can continue with me through the game and isn't maybe as obvious as
Yeah.
some people might
No,
think.
you're
So
right.
I thought it was a great example of or a great takeaway for Survivor players now and in the future.
Agreed.
Of
100%.
look at your
My
options.
one final point on the other side, the other piece of this is that while I do think Emily's realizations were genuine, to change who you are in a day, I don't know if that's
Yeah.
possible.
Well, she's
right?
still clearly struggling with it. I mean, we can see the example of when the boat came, and Emily is still saying to the group
Yes.
out loud, "You're
Yes.
obviously trying to stop me from getting advantage." It's like
Yeah.
there's nothing
Yeah.
you
Like,
can do to change this scenario.
There's no
They're not
reason
gonna
to
let
say
you
that
go.
out loud, right? If you
Yeah.
know that that's what's happening, don't say it out loud.
Yeah.
Because
So she's
now
she's still working on it.
she's still working on it. Good point. You're right.
She's
That's
still
a great.
working on it.
I was gonna say that about sums up the positives with this tribe, right? Like now we can get really into how much of a disaster they are, right? Like Brandon, like let's kick him while he's down a little bit because we can. To be honest with you, Brandon was not ready to come on the show. He wasn't ready.
He's not ready to
He
go on this.
he came off to me and he had a lot of time to prepare apparently since 2008. He came off to me like he really was trying his best. Like the problem wasn't like a lack of like motivation. Like I think like he was really giving it his all and his all just wasn't there.
Well,
in
talk
his
to me.
current state.
We've seen older contestants and certain contestants really struggle in the pre-merge, right?
But like guys, across the board, he couldn't there was nothing that he brought together even when it was his
but
time
we've
to
seen this before. So like my takeaway to you, Toast, is that this is not. Or I mean, or have we never seen this? Like when you add in the puzzle aspect as well.
like Daniel from 42 was kind of similar, right?
Look,
Like
I think what makes this much worse than a lot of the other examples that we've seen is we've seen people who aren't great at puzzles and challenges. I think we have seen people like that. I think the difference is that Brandon, it seems like continually was putting himself out there to
He doesn't
compete in these
know
things.
his strengths. He doesn't know his weaknesses.
It's the lack of self-awareness, I think, is what's really amplified.
But he couldn't sell anything. Like the selling point at the end when Jeff is telling his speech about the water boy and how Jeff was a water boy, and obviously the result of that is he's very successful now. Like the result of that shouldn't be, I would love to be this team's water boy. The team doesn't need a water boy. Like Brandon, you know the
that was
team
his
doesn't
only
need a water
value.
boy. Like
Dude, that-
they
dude,
need
that-
someone
that-
to
dude,
say.
Dude,
They
that
need
was
someone to say.
that was his only argument. Is that
No,
listen,
but-
I'll be your ride or die.
But at least-
Sabaya was putting that out on a plate as the reason to keep him because otherwise a vote to not vote out Brandon was a signing a letter of
It's a-
declaration.
yeah,
the
that we're coming back.
Declaration of independence. I can't even speak. Saying
We're coming back.
We're coming back.
We'll see you next time.
We're back, Jeff. We're
Yeah.
coming back because like
But you can at least try to say, hey, I'm not going to be the water boy. Right now, I might seem like that, but I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to improve in the areas that you guys are telling me I need to improve on. And I'm going to make sure that when you look over at me in the middle of the challenge, I'm giving everything I have to this game. And if that's not enough, get me out.
But I guess
Give yourself a chance.
I don't even know why I'm fully dissecting this, and I feel like he was giving it his all somewhat.
Yeah, that's
like
what I'm
what
trying-
happened last week when he plopped down off the wall and fell into the mud and laid there. Is that really giving it your all? Because
I don't know. Maybe that is his all. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like maybe
This
that's
is
the
problem,
best
is
he
I
can
don't think
do.
there was more for him to give right now in his current state.
In his
Fine.
current form, I think he might
Fine,
be
so-
giving it his all.
But okay, so I guess I don't want to be a complete asshole, but
It's okay.
was he
You could-
the worst challenge person of all time?
Yes.
potentially he would for
Because
like
he was leading to detrimental things. When he was laying there on the ground and when he was not getting up the
Like
ladder,
Jatia?
nobody could do anything.
Maybe
there's
like
plenty of
Jatia?
people-
Yeah, maybe, but like,
I think there's a lot of people who are not helpful. I think I'm going to be honest. I think he was an active detriment.
he was a liability.
yes.
It's a liability, and it's really
It-
bad.
in no position you couldn't put him in a position where he would be able to cause no damage.
There's no
Not to say that
control.
Sabaya was like elite at this puzzle by any means. Like
No, she
if
clearly
maybe they
had her
had someone
struggles as
else who
well.
was a puzzle person,
Yeah.
they could have maybe put something together. But like he's saying, I'm the puzzle guy. We know he's not the swim in the water and go over the balance beam guy. So what are you then, Brandon? Like they have nothing to work with. The point that I'm trying to make is that as much as I sound like I'm shitting on Brandon, which I am, I'll be honest. Like I also think that like he made it so that the tribe had no choice. He handcuffed them.
Okay, so I guess this is the point I'm trying to drill down because you entered that conversation in this beat fest, saying he
seems
wasn't,
like a nice
he
guy.
wasn't ready for the show. Are you saying there are people that cannot go on this show? Is what you're saying?
It would like that's not a conclusion
saying.
that I'm saying it's a logical leap to make is like him. The problem is that I think that he thought in his head, I know so much about this game. I've watched this game and I want to go so
His
badly.
inkling about the Beware advantage is something I've been hammering home
Yes.
for a long time.
Yes.
So
it
I
wa-
love that little piece of
He just
survivor
hit-
knowledge, and he had the background.
Yeah,
right?
he did.
Okay,
He
but
did.
Kale, and I hate to, but is it possible that decision around the Beware advantage was not based around this is what you have to do strategically, but more based around, he said it himself, he is a very anxious person.
It could be. It could be. It could be. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt there
Yeah,
because
I do
then
too.
what are we giving? What are we
Give him
giving
the
him?
benefit of the doubt on that.
I'll give him
all?
that. I'll give him
yeah,
that.
what are we giving him at all?
Because I thought it was good that he did that too, and I was like, it's nice because now you know exactly who has it, and it'll come
Yes,
into play.
because at the end of
And
the
you
day,
got
like
some
we
good
said a
will out of
million
it.
times, that thing is fucking useless
Yeah.
when everybody knows you have it. It is
Yeah.
useless.
It's
Well,
useless.
That's why, I mean, look, I know we're really beating down on Brandon. I would like to talk about Sabaya because I think. that
Wait, one second. I just
Wait,
want
yeah,
to. I just want to.
we gotta finish this thought.
I want to
All right,
finalize this
finalize
thought
it.
too.
I think
Finalize
that
the beat
I
down.
think Brandon. In
Are
his
there people that just cannot go on the show? Is that what you're saying?
Listen, the reasons in which Brandon thought that he would be a contender on this show did not hold up. He's a super fan. We've seen plenty of super fans, but he has to come to the table with something. He has to come to the table with something.
When he's applying for the show,
yes,
too,
he needs to practice puzzles.
He needs to have something.
He needs to bring something to the table. In his current form, he was not ready to play. That's not to say that he can never play, and that in other seasons, in other scenarios, he would, where he didn't get dealt a bad hand in the beginning and didn't have like a panic attack and like suffer through that first challenge, which automatically brought him down, where he doesn't form a very close alliance with the person that quits on day one, where he, like there are certain things that stacked against him, and I'm giving him credit for those things being semi out of his hands, right? Because he didn't need to make an alliance with Hannah, right? But he ended up doing that. I think that in his current form, he just wasn't ready to play. He was not there to play. And I think he was giving it his all, and I think he just didn't have it.
And I think that's probably the conclusion. That
is that fair?
No, it is. Because first of all, what Hannah did last week was way worse than what
For
Brandon
sure.
ended up doing, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
She was a quitter, and she got through casting
She snuck through the cracks. Yeah.
She snuck through the cracks and went through all the tests and ended up quitting.
Yeah,
So,
even Kylie said today, like, there's an alternate waiting at Ponderosa right now that could have just taken her spot,
Yeah.
They fly extra people out.
Yeah, so I guess the second line of thinking, and again, the end all be all conclusion on this matter is that Brandon probably should have prepped in some fashion better than he did.
Yes, fair. Thank you. That is like the best way to interpret what I'm saying.
Well, but that's what you're saying is that because I'm a believer that anybody can be on this show because we've seen we've seen every type of walk of life be on this show. We've had almost every single walk of life make it far on this show, do well on this show. We've had a million different winners on this show.
100%.
Unfortunately, Brandon got voted out because he literally had no value other than trying to be a vote. And that wasn't good enough in the pre-merge because that matters, right? So
it matters.
He needed to prep more.
Agreed.
I guess that's what we're saying.
Look, I think unfortunately, for me, this is as much as Hannah is unfortunately to me feels like a failure in the casting department. Like, I do think that this should have been caught a little bit with this poor of a performance. Which sucks to say.
Part of the show is also TV as well. I'm sure they like the entertainment value that he provided us
when
for
he
2
fell
weeks, right?
walking on the beach and he was like, "Oh, it sucks." Like that was funny. I like that.
Well, just the fact that they added that in too, man. I was like,
so there's value in a piece of editing that they probably want this, right?
Yeah.
But Brandon really needed to. I really think this is just a failure on his sake because he needed to do something where he could have added some type of value and eliminated the piece of what we're talking about where he was a detriment because that's why he got voted out tonight. He got voted out tonight because those three sat there and said, "We will be back here next week with him."
Yeah, they had no choice.
They literally didn't have a choice. They want to act like they
had
did.
No choice 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brandon left them no choice.
As little of a choice this week as they did last week.
Your social game can't outcompete that. That's the problem that Brandon couldn't really figure out, I think.
And I hate to hammer this though, but his social game wasn't anything to.
That was another problem. Correct.
Write home about. Like, sure, like he was nice to people and like people didn't dislike him, but
it's not enough.
I wouldn't say that his social game was.
No, but there are people like even if you have the best social game, like it's very hard to operate around the fact that like you are so clearly in the spotlight as being the reason why we're here.
Yeah.
Every time we're here. They haven't had Flint in the game because of Brandon.
Well, let's be clear. If his social game was better, he wouldn't have he would have the self-awareness to not put himself out there as the puzzle guy because he would know that he's not actually that good at puzzles.
So it kind of feeds in on itself there too, I
I
guess.
think we should move
Yeah,
on.
let's
We'll
take it back.
table
I feel
it.
bad at this point.
I think we got a bad edit for
Hold on.
Sabaya this
I'm wishing the best of luck for my namesake, Brandon. I'm
Yeah.
wishing the best
Yeah,
of luck.
I hope he has
The
a
only
phenomenal
reason I wanted to keep diving down that discussion is because I do think auditioning for Survivor as opposed to any other reality TV show is a very interesting thing. I think that those that they choose to be on this particular show, even in relation to the challenge, which is extremely physical, compared to this, like I don't think there's a realm where Brandon always comes out on the island like this. So that's kind of
Yeah,
That's
meaning
kind of-
like if he prepped in a specific way, he would be able to do things, right?
even
Like,
if he knew how to make fire without the flint,
which
think
he was
I think
close
that
to.
helped.
He's like,
Yeah,
if he
yeah.
brought anything like
Yeah.
a little extra, like we
Yeah.
saw. I mean, sorry, just to bring it full circle, like we saw Carson last season, like who had gone above and beyond, like building old puzzles, like really doing everything.
Yes.
And yeah, there's self-interest in that because when you get to the end of the game,
40 pounds.
yeah,
Like muscle.
exactly. Yes, Simi, you're right. He did. I mean, Tony has talked at length about how he would prep, like for Cagayan, he put on like a bunch of weight, all like lean muscle and fat, like healthy fats. Like people prep for the show, I'm just saying Brandon in his current form wasn't ready for it. And I think that he might have been a little bit naive to think that a deep understanding of how the game is played and like understanding past social relationships from other seasons would be enough to take him far. And I don't think he had the skill set that he needed coming out there right away, which is unfortunate. Because I do think that there are the makings there of someone who is fun to be around. Like his jokes were funny. I liked watching him when he was on the TV, and that translates in real time to the beach.
That's what I said. There's another form of
podcast host.
What'd you say?
I think he'd be a great Survivor podcast host. I think
Oh,
he'd
he's
be
not going to
great-
come on this one now.
No. Look, he's gonna hate us after this one. But I just mean that, like, I think like he's obviously great knowledge about the game. He is obviously personable, and I think he, really cares about the game. I think, unfortunately, just that by itself though is
It's not enough.
as we've seen.
No, it's not.
Yeah. All right,
All
that's
right,
a good place to.
so listen, do we
talk about
want-
it in 2 line.
Do we want to talk about our top three?
Yeah.
We got
Let's do our stock up, stock down, and who your top 3 and winner pick is.
Yeah, Simi, you had mentioned the Sabaya bad edit, so start with bring that
Okay.
up right now.
All right. So I think Sabaya had a bad edit. I think one, taking the beware advantage is just as bad of a decision as giving it away is a good decision, potentially in that situation. And then suddenly she couldn't find it, and it seemed like after 10 minutes was like, all right, I'm bringing everybody else in, which I don't love. And then maybe it's just the edit, but she was really still pushing for Emily to go home, and that makes me worried that she's not going to be able to see past.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
Which I think you have to do.
I think that's exemplified a lot more with the juxtaposition of not only Caleb early on, but Sean was amenable to Emily's growth a little bit quicker than Sabaya was as well. I don't think they put an exclamation point on those items there without it having some type of meaning. And that just might mean, like we saw in the promo, that they might get pitted against each other.
Yeah.
But there was nothing fantastic about what Sabaya did tonight, and all she really ended up with was a candle in her hand at this point.
Yeah, I did love it. I think another stock down for me is Sifu. Unfortunately, we got a little bit of screen time with him, but one, he's not in that foursome alliance. He has obviously kept out of it. And then two, something that went a little under the radar is that he sat out of the challenge and they still won. And so if you're going to be the big, huge, strong guy and they can still dominate without your values kind of
What a
getting
good
diminished.
point. That's a great point, Simi, because it's very subtle. and you're just hoping that your team doesn't see it. You're almost hoping that they don't win when you're not playing, right? If that's your angle.
Because then
So I
it's
think
like,
that's a
hey,
really good
you
point.
guys obviously got to keep me around.
They're like, no, we're totally fine.
Yeah. So I
he's a spare tire, you know.
He's a spare tire, and he obviously isn't included in that primary foursome alliance with D, Julie, Drew, and Austin.
Great
which is
take.
not
Great observation.
Um,
I'm all for it.
And then I think the stock ups are what we've talked about really. Drew, I think Kelly's a big stock up, and I think Caleb is a big stock up. And then I'm probably gonna leave Drew as my winner pick for now from last week.
Nice.
Because I'm loving the way he's playing. But yeah, that's my stock stuff. But what about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think we pinpointed a lot about the different elements of stock up, stock down. I just want to point to again that peculiar tiny Julie cameo or what's the word?
I get what you're saying. Her little
What-
snippet.
I think
What
that
was
a
what's
positive-
her confessional? I'm sorry, jeez.
Yeah.
Long podcast. I'm sorry. Julie's confessional there early on. That's not going unnoticed by me. That meant something. That meant something.
Whether it's in
Um,
relation to Drew or not is something that we're going to find out.
Correct. Exactly. So, listen, I'm not going to piggyback on the Drew take. I don't do that here. His edit from a meta perspective. There's not many episodes I think that rival it. I don't know if that's a crazy take, but like for
It's a little bit of an exaggeration, but
really, dude. I
that's
mean,
as positive as you can get.
yeah, no, but it doesn't always.
yeah, I'm talking in relation to this Julie thing as an added benefit potentially
Sure.
for Drew. I'm talking about the elements of how he got intertwined into the Austin situation, how his dissection of Brandon was good conversation, but Bruce wasn't. Like he talked about so many things. It was a lot, and it's just it was a little bit mind-boggling. So. Did something happen? Oh, I can't. I can't.
Toast is
hear
a
it.
little disconnected. I think it's coming out of his speakers right now.
Oh goodness, we're derailing here at the end.
I'll mute Toast while he
Oh,
figures that out.
he's
give me a-
gone.
No, I dropped him out just so we wouldn't get the echo. But Toast,
All
give
right.
me a thumbs up when you think you're.
All right, so I'll just I'll put a bow on this. I had Sabaya last week. I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put my top three. I'm gonna put my top three as Drew at 3, not to piggyback off of you, Sim. I'm gonna put.
You
I'm
can
gonna
put him
put-
higher if you want to.
No, I'm gonna put
You
him
sure
at.
agree with me?
I'm gonna put him at 3. I'm gonna put Brando at 2, and I'm gonna put Caleb at 1. I'm gonna flip flop and
Okay.
stay. Again, my thesis is still Lulu coming out with less numbers is a benefit at the merge. That's my thesis that I'm still gonna hold true to. I'm just gonna flop from Sabaya to Caleb.
I think it's a great theory. Honestly, I think we've seen it bear out kind of again and again in these past seasons. So I like that, and I think those small tribes going into the merge, they come out with a lot of good survivor skills because they've had to be put
Correct.
through the crucible.
It's very short term experience, and they also are not the two big bag bullies that feel the need to go after each other, right?
Yeah.
So Toast, put a knot on this for us here.
Nah, we still can't hear you.
Oh goodness, this is going off the rails.
I know.
How did everything shut down? This is brutal.
Toast, if you shoot us a message, I can relay your top 3 and your winner pick. if
Yeah,
you
type your
want.
top 3 in here, buddy,
Type
so we
your
don't
top
keep
3 in
don't
there.
keep the
Well-
viewership completely on edge. Kelly is number
Yeah.
1 or number 2. Jake is down.
Oh, Jake is
Kelly
down.
is up.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
Kelly seems to
Kelly's
be.
the winner
Was that
pick.
your winner pick last week, Kelly? Okay.
We got a winner
Yeah.
pick of Kelly for toast.
Oh, Jake was his.
Oh,
Jake was
and
his winner
Jake has
pick last
dropped
week.
down. I
Okay,
see.
yeah,
I see. Yeah. I mean, look. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sign
Toast
language
is
would
saying
help right now as
if
he
it-
types in the chat.
I'd love to learn ASL. I think that'd be sick. I think we got a really good episode 2 after kind of a disappointing ending to episode 1, but I like the way that everything's shaking out. I like this extra time that we're getting. I like this beach time. I'm excited to keep watching the season. I know I say that every single week, but I am.
No, but this was fun. This was entertaining, fun, and insightful, and that was without madness at Tribal Council. That was because there wasn't crazy advantages that completely derailed things. It was a well constructed episode. It really was.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it was a great ep. I love talking to you boys, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.